I'm Riggs Eckelberry, and it is the 24th of February, 2023. I'm happy to bring together a team from my company, OriginClear, and various divisions. We're going to tell you about an installation that was done for Modular Water Systems client. And with me is Dan Early, who's the Chief Engineer of OriginClear and the head of the Modular Water Systems division. Also, Mark Mazzaquette, who is Senior Engineer and Engineering Manager for Modular Water Systems. Colin Sherman is the brand new Operations Manager for a new company we've got called Water on Demand, which does pre-funded systems that clients can pay for by the gallon. It's basically water as a service. Very exciting. So with that, I'm going to get right into it. Dan, tell us about this project and how it came about.
It's a decentralized wastewater solution and an equipment package that we delivered to a mobile home park customer in Pennsylvania. We've been working with this customer for about 18 months now. They were under a notice of violation as implemented by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. Their old on-site wastewater system was out of compliance with their discharge permit. And so the state of Pennsylvania said, cease and desist or fix your problem. So they approached us a few months ago, and we proposed our plug-and-play EveraSKID membrane bioreactor technology. Their consulting engineer that was representing them, they were pleased with what they saw. They liked the concept. They liked the ease of installation and the simplicity of the operation of the system. And so we were selected as basis of design. We entered into a design build contract with them.
When we get the basis of design, it means it's very hard for others to then poach the deal because it's been specified on that particular design.
Yeah. And we just recently commissioned that equipment. It was installed about a month ago, and Mark Mazzaquette led the field commissioning. So that's the backstory of how we got involved with this particular customer, why they had a need for the system, and what we've done to help them get through this process with the Department of Environmental Protection.
Is this a common problem that mobile home parks have these days with environmental departments?
It is, and this is very commonplace around the United States. You'll see a lot of these customers and entities that don't have access to public sewer. They are beyond the reaches of the public utility grid. They either have their own wastewater system or they need to build their own decentralized wastewater system. Some of those that do have existing systems, a lot of times, which is the case here with this mobile home park customer, they've been out of compliance with their permit now for sometimes as much as a decade. So it is a very common problem anywhere you go.
There's a big market. Well, of course, that is, it's astonishing how much non-compliance there is out there. And it's a good thing to hear that the departments of environmental quality, they have different names by state, are actually starting to enforce this, and it's creating a huge market opportunity for us, as I understand it.
Yes.
Now, what is a membrane bioreactor?
A membrane bioreactor is it's a machine that is designed to leverage the biological treatment processes that we commonly use in the wastewater treatment industry. So the biological processes use the beneficial bacteria that occur naturally in the environment. They receive all of the incoming raw wastewater from the facilities, and the beneficial bacteria, they will digest. They will consume and metabolize the organic load and the pollution and the pollutant load. The membrane portion of the bioreactor is a really nifty piece of technology that allows us to filter the water out of the biomass, and it really allows us to achieve a much higher treatment capacity. The effluent, the treated water that we produce from our systems, is of the utmost highest quality. It has the appearance of almost being drinking water quality. That's how advanced this is. It's a much more compact system. It allows us to reduce this process and reduce the footprint and the energy consumption that goes with it. So it's a biological reactor. It's a biological treatment system with this filtration capability.
And the EveraSKID is basically a line of standardized boxes, essentially, right?
Yes.
Like standardized form factors, different sizes.
They are rigs. The EveraSKID system and its plug-and-play delivery model, we have 5 standard treatment capacities. We have a 5,000 gallon per day treatment system, a 10,000, a 15,000, a 20,000, and a 25,000 gallon per day treatment model. It's almost like going down to the Ford dealership if you want to buy a Ford F-150 pickup truck or a 250, a 350, a 450. It's the same thing. They just get bigger and have more capability.
Am I right? This is pretty advanced for the water industry.
Very advanced. I think Mark and Colin, when they speak here shortly, they will testify to the perception that the local consulting engineer and the end user at this mobile home park, they were blown away by the advanced compact process that we delivered with the EveraSKID system.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to hear more. Thank you, Dan. It's a project we've watched for months as it grew and came to fruition. And it's always fun to actually be able to check them off. Am I right?
Yep. It's been enjoyable. I'm very, very pleased. I'm thrilled with the delivery we've had with it. Not only this one, but a sister system. And we have a third one we're getting ready to ship out in the next few weeks. So very pleased with the progress we've made over the last 6 months.
Very exciting. Well, Mark Mazzaquette, you, of course, took over the actual execution of this. Tell me how you got the project and what you did, and feel free to illustrate as you wish.
Project was handed to me to basically turn from our conceptual layouts and what we worked on with the engineer to turn it into an actual thing you can walk into and walk onto and pump water through. So it started with our fabrication team and turning the designs into real life there, working with the different players to make it happen in our factory. We were able to put it together there, test it with clean water prior to shipping it out. Once it got on site, one of the main features of this unit is how streamlined the installation is. All the contractor needs to do is pour a concrete pad, get some plumbing to and from it, and then drop the unit on the pad, finish those plumbing connections, get power to it, and it's ready to receive water. That is another thing that is kind of unique and unheard of almost in this industry, especially in the small flows, right? We're dealing with 10,000 gallons per day, an individual system that's relatively small. The deployment is never that quick and never that easy. I kept thinking throughout this experience that, a contractor who's got his ducks in a row could probably do this whole thing start to finish in about a week.
Obviously, you have a lot of engineering experience. How is this different or an upgrade from your previous work experience?
It's an upgrade in the fact that we are able to really leverage our engineering experience and know-how from the get-go and apply these technologies to these kinds of flows. The MBR is technology you see elsewhere in the large municipal plants, but we're able to innovate given the tools we have and the technology, how the technology has scaled down to make it happen at these flow rates we're talking about. That's been a major difference.
Yes. And now Dan mentioned something called basis of design. Is that relatively unique in the industry as far as you've seen?
When you get to a point where the engineer, the client, everybody likes your device that much that they want to specify you as that sole source, it means that they don't really see any value in looking anywhere else. And they're that sold on your piece of equipment. So it's not that common you get that kind of designation.
I'm getting the image of a consulting engineer getting on his knees in front of Dan Early and will you marry me?
It's not too different a relationship because we want our unit, and others, unique thing about our unit is that we go to great lengths to specify and include equipment and components that will last for decades, not lose value to corrosion, not require a ton of maintenance over the years. And so you are entering into somewhat of a marriage for decades. The foreseeable life of anybody on this call here.
Well, that's excellent, Mark. So then you obviously this week you went ahead and commissioned it.
So here's the model that we used. It is a plastic tank that was dropped into a big hole cut into a 40-foot shipping container. And yes, and this shipping container is standard size. It's we use that because it's very easy to send that down the road on a truck, shipping from our fabricators to wherever. And at the one end of this unit, you can see there's a door, an entry into a space that is set aside for some equipment for processing, helping to process the water that we pump through this. And when do you use water rigs, right? You use water kind of in the morning when you wake up, and then you leave for the day, you come back, you use more water. So there are peaks throughout the day. And this flow equalization tank will fill up during those high flow times and then drain out during the low flow. We have pumps in here at this end that transfer water into the next stage at a constant rate. So it equalizes the flow, makes it so that the water flow going to our membrane bioreactor, which is this next chamber, is a constant 5-10 gallons a minute, which the bioreactor likes.
Kind of like a water tower.
Pretty much. Yep. We have 2 filtration cartridges located in this chamber here. There's aeration at the bottom of them, which provides oxygen to the bacteria. Just like us, they need oxygen to breathe and to do their digestion work. The bacteria are going to be floating around in suspension, and the filters will, as that movement is happening from the aeration, there's suction pulled on those to pull clean water through and leave the bacteria in this chamber.
What happens to the debris or sludge?
It'll build up over time. It'll concentrate. It's a slow concentration at this size. The operator will monitor that sludge for concentration and other parameters, and he'll tell, based on what we our advice as well, when to waste and when to remove that sludge and put it elsewhere. It's healthy as well for the sludge to have dead decaying bacteria removed every once in a while.
And then far left, as you say, various controls and accessories.
That's correct. I mentioned aeration systems. I mentioned pumping systems. I mentioned monitoring systems. Most of those are housed in this room here. It's also a comfortable place for an operator to come and do his work to keep an eye on the system.
That's where you might have controls, for example, remote controls could be there, right?
That's correct. Our standard is to have an Ethernet connection to these units, or as an option for a cellular or a Wi-Fi connection, so that we can be remotely monitoring the units, making changes to the parameters, helping diagnose issues while the operator's there as well. This unit we actively monitoring through our remote system.
Now that brings us to the ability to fully operate and maintain a system such as what Colin has got going here, where he is putting together contracts where we or another water company that we designate is responsible for making sure that the unit continues to operate. So in that case, you'll be able to see right there from the data, looks like a filter needs changing or whatever, and you'd be able to deploy either a local water guy or whatever to do the work.
These systems can never be run without some kind of human interaction occasionally. I will say they're very low maintenance when there's nothing wrong. For example, once or twice a month is what our visits are mandated as, but there's very much that can be done remotely, from changing settings to diagnosing an issue. There's a remote alarming capability as well to help identify those times when somebody has to be sent out. At the end of the day, the operator is kind of your end user, right? He's the person that we want to make this user-friendly for, because a system that's more easily operated is going to be a successful system. So we have a lot of operator-friendly features worked into the design here, and we think our operators are pretty happy with what they see.
So thank you, Mark. That's really fascinating. Let's get Colin to tell us a little bit about his experience.
Right. So I'm new to the company, and I heard a lot about the MBR units. And when I heard that Mark was going to do a commissioning, I jumped to it and said, I'd like to come and have a look at this. I was very, very pleasantly surprised. The professionalism in commissioning these units was unbelievable. When I arrived there with Mark, the tank had arrived with a biomass, which they loaded into the unit.
This morning we are receiving a delivery of seed sludge for our 10K MBR unit. You see the truck pulled up here and kind of prepping for that depositing that sludge inside the plant.
And within no time, we were producing clean water. The engineer that was there, as well as the service provider, were absolutely amazed. They had never seen this before. They were very impressed with the compact design of the unit, and they were very, very surprised that clean water was being produced within hours.
Wow.
I was very, very impressed with it, and it all bodes well for water on demand, because we know that these units are going to be well made. They're going to be professionally commissioned and handed over to the service provider that we appoint, and we know that they are robust and will last for the life of the contracts.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you, Colin, for making the trip and for taking the pictures and videos.
So if you could, Mark, I'd like for you just to scroll through just a handful of photos, select photos, and just The outside of the container is great. I'd like to get some photos of the inside, some of the compartments, and just a few shots of the equipment room.
Here's the unit as described before, with the shipping container. On top is the tank insert, that plastic tank insert with some of the utility connections. And inside the building, I'll start here with our control panel. This is the brains of the unit. It's got an HMI touchscreen for operator interface. We have several supporting systems, like I mentioned, the aeration system.
An HMI interface is a human
machine interface.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The power supply is a simple single phase 230 volt, which is available pretty much everywhere in America. But we can customize that voltage, of course. Supporting systems include also a chemical feed system, which you see to the right here in that picture. Here's a permeate pump skid, which actually pulls the clean water through the membranes and pushes it into the effluent treatment process. On the left there is a UV disinfection unit, which we use to meet our permanent limits for bacteria. Chemical feed for actually cleaning the membranes in place. So an automated system for cleaning the membranes with the chemical treatment, which basically refreshes them like new every time. We do that once a week. Here's an example of what Colin was talking about. This is the effluent after a few hours of the system working. I get you a good picture of the membrane modules themselves. This is a pretty good one looking down into that membrane bioreactor tank. A few things to note. We have a plastic structurally reinforced tankage. That's a standalone tank with some stainless steel reinforcement. The modules here have both air and water plumbed to them for their operation. It's very serviceable. This unit, just by unscrewing a few bolts, can be removed and taken out, set on the ground, and the modules replaced if necessary. So very easy to replace compared to other options. Pumping systems look like this. Pretty simple stuff, but very robust. All of our pumps are stainless steel pumps, plastic piping. Everything's corrosion resistant and ready to operate for decades.
You got any photos of the top side of it?
It'll involve aluminum hatches, your service piping. Like I mentioned, we use aluminum aeration piping. We have plastic PVC conduit for electrical, both low voltage and high voltage. This is the top of the tank is that structurally reinforced plastic material. The hatches are set right into it. Everything is rated for walking very comfortably and exposure to the elements for decades. This is UV resistant stuff. And you can see the other end over here with our equipment room roof is still that corrugated metal container roof. So it went down the road like this, came out of our factory just like this, and was set right on the ground.
Gentlemen, I'm really blown away by how clean and beautiful this is. It's really helpful to actually be able to get a grasp of what you guys build, because all I see is numbers. And it really helps to see the actual thing. So I'd like to congratulate you. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I really appreciate the work you guys do at Modular Water Systems, supported by Progressive Water Treatment in McKinney, Texas. And let's keep on trucking. I'm so happy. Thank you, and let's have a great rest of the year.
Thank you.
Thanks, you too.